Hey everybody, this is Terry. I just want to talk to you a little bit tonight. I am in my music room, and I usually don't show this view. I got a little bit of a addiction to guitars, and these are some of my acoustic electric guitars right here. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the name Outside Dog, and you're probably thinking, oh, "This is Terry. He does some crazy things and everything." And yeah, I might do some unusual things. Let me take these off because I see a lot of glare on the camera and everything. Outside dog, because I'll talk about just about anything. I'll talk about race. I'll talk about religion. I'll talk about politics. Music. I'll talk about um, survival and quail and bees, and I'll be talking about gardening once I figure out what I'm doing a little bit. But the name Outside Dog, see, above all, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And I know that makes some of you just want to just turn the video off right now. And that's because of your view on, I believe it's because of your view on Jesus Christ, is what you've seen from people that say they follow Jesus or they profess Jesus or they're Christians. And they're taught what Christians meant by by their pastors and by what maybe the church they go to or the denomination they belong to teaches, and it can repel some people. It can actually be repulsive to some people because they'll um, they'll tend to point out a flaw that others have, and you or I might have that flaw, and make us feel like we're less because of that. But hopefully, I don't do that to you guys. I bet you I probably did when I first started following Jesus because I was taught by the same people that probably have upset you. And it takes a while to get rid of some of that junk they stick in your head. Anyway, if you have dogs, you can kind of understand this theology a little bit better um, through knowing dogs. And I talked about there being four kinds of dogs, which, the joke at the end, there's only three kinds of dogs. And one I called a cat, and because it really wasn't a dog at all, because it didn't listen, it does what it wants, and it doesn't listen to its master at all. And if you are a follower of God, you're gonna let him. You're gonna let him lead you. You might not like what he says. You know he's telling the truth, and we choose if we're going to follow him or if we're not going to follow him when we feel him talking to us. And I I chose to follow. He saved my marriage, pretty much saved my life, and I'm forever grateful to him for that. But now to talk to you about the outside dog part. If you have dogs, and say you have an inside dog, now inside dog, a lot of times they're little yappers. They might bark when someone knocks at the door, but that's not to protect you. That's so you'll get up and protect them. They might even bite and then run under the couch or under the bed. But those dogs are usually spoiled, and they're pampered, and they're catered to, and they have their own chair in the house or their own pillow, or and they, in their mind, yeah, I know the motorcycle in the background. I live in a noisy neighborhood, but they believe those little dogs kind of believe that you're there to serve them, and they might be loving and they might heal your heart because you love them so much, but they're not really dogs that's doing something for you besides emotionally. They're not they're not doing nothing. And then there's the outside dog, which, they might hunt, they might smell a little bit, they might not look the prettiest all the time, um, but they tend to be a little larger sometimes. They will definitely keep someone away from your house. They will definitely protect you if someone tried to hurt you. Um, and that's not 100% on any of these dogs, but that's basically the demographic of those dogs. And see, God is kind of like the dog owner. He owns both those dogs. He does. And he loves both those dogs. He loves that one cuddling up and loving on him. And he also loves that one that's out there doing the work and trying to hunt and protect. And he likes that dog too. And the outside dog would like to come in the house. They're a little bit more clumsy. They might tear some stuff up. And they just like to be around. They like to be around the owner of the dog more because they like the owner because the owner takes care of it. The owner feeds it. The owner, they want to be around the owner as well. But many times, the inside dog, it snaps at the outside dog when it comes in. And if it wasn't for how much the outside dog loves the owner, he'd probably rip that little dog apart. But the inside dog, he has his own place. He wants to tell that dog, the outside dog, hey, you got to be over there. I don't even want you in this house. You know how little dogs are. And sometimes in church world, I would say in the Christian world, but I'm going to call it the church world, people believe that there's some kind of pecking order. We are more dignified. We should get to say what goes on in here. We are cleaner. We wear nicer clothes. We talk more fluently. We are here all the time. We are in every prayer meeting. We are in every Bible study. We get our say so in this house. But it's not their house. It's the master's house. And the outside dog's thinking, hang on now. I love the master too, but I'm doing the things that God wants me to do. I'm out witnessing to everybody and trying to make disciples of them, and I'm doing what God told us to do. But those people's just doing all the little stuff that it feeds them, but it's not really helping God at all. I know, it's controversial. I'm not trying to start no trouble here. I'm just letting you know a little bit about outside dogs. Eventually, they don't want to come in the door. They have God's presence outside that door. They don't need to go in that door. The little dogs really need to go outside and do what God tells them to do, but they don't. I know they plan a great big outreach every year or a church picnic every year, and they invite friends and family every year, and Christmas and Easter every year they invite everybody. But that's kind of like trying to introduce someone to Jesus if you can get them to Jesus' house. That's not really going out and telling them about Jesus. That's just bringing them to the house where they might see him on their own. And if you've got a good pastor, he might be able to lead them and explain to them, and they might, they can get saved that way. I'm not saying they can, but there's coming a day when a cross on a building, you might as well put a big old red circle with a dot in the middle. It's going to be a target, and they're going to attack that. Because the same ones that hate God hate you because you say you love God. And then you're going to see who's real and who's not real. Who's going to take that punishment and go anyway and know they're going to be persecuted for doing it. You think, oh, Terry, you're out there now, man. That's never going to happen. It's going to happen. And people say, well, God would never let something like that happen. He would never do that. Let me tell you something about God. He is love. He is also just. And he wants those people to know Jesus. And he will put everybody on the table for the bet that he's going to try to win them people. You think, well, God don't gamble. Let me tell you something. Jesus was God's only begotten son. And he lived sinlessly. He didn't ever do no sin. And he let us, people, I know it wasn't you and me, it was people a long time ago, slaughter him. Just beat the tar out of him. Rip his beard out of his face. And you know hunks of skin probably came with that. Beat him with a whip. I heard it was a cat of nine tails. And with the Romans, they had like bones and glass and metal stuck in the ends of it. So when it hit that flesh, like fish hooks on us, rip flesh back out. Before they even nailed him to a cross and stuck him up for everybody to display, naked. And you know, I know we've seen the movies, and it's, you know, he's just got a little wrapping around, you know, so you don't see nothing to keep it PG rated, but he was naked. You couldn't get him more embarrassed and beat than you could possibly be than Jesus was. And if you think God won't let you go through something to win someone to him, you are already his. When you die, you get to go to heaven. This is temporary. He wants them saved. He wants them to come. So he ain't putting you through nothing because he owns you if he's your Lord. He owns you. And so I don't always fit in churches. I love God. I do. I tend not to like churches. And this is why. I'm going to use some Bible now, okay? Jesus said that a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. And that means a lot of things. It could be a country, like right now, United States, we are so divided, it ain't funny. And you know, until 6-7 years ago, I thought racism was almost faded out. But man, they stoked that fire. They made sure we could keep it going. Make black people hate white people. Make white people hate black people. I don't even understand why they do this. But they keep us divided because they don't want we the people in this country. They want us to be weak. And a nation divided against itself cannot stand. We can't take this very much longer. I believe it. I believe it's going to come to an end, this country. And it saddens me because I don't want it to be. I want it to be what I was taught growing up. I want it to be a place where we're free to live without the government, you know, controlling everything we do. Without, you know, we're free to live life in liberty and the pursuit of happiness, where we're all equal. That's what I was taught. We're all equal. That's what I was taught, but we're not. And the truth is, they try to keep us from seeing it. They try to keep us from seeing the truth. They show us like an illusion how it really is in this world. And they keep us divided. And it's not black and white. It's not male and woman. But they'll divide it as many times as they can into as many categories as they can. It's to keep us from being on the same page. That way they're the majority and we're a whole bunch of little minorities. We're not a majority as a people. The government's a majority. I know, I sound like a psychopath. But it can also be a business, a big corporation. They get divided on how they want to go. The corporation falls apart, fails. It could be a family. You know, a man and his wife are supposed to be on the same side. We are. And in my opinion, I'm supposed to love my wife more than I love me. And in my opinion, it would be nice if she loved me more than she loves herself. And I think she would say the same thing, but I'm kind of joking on that a little bit. But when you care for someone else more than you care for yourself, the selfishness and the stinginess doesn't come in a way. But when you let it in there and you both want something more than it has, you get divided and a family falls apart. Not just the mom and dad, but you divide the kids up, and now mom's got them over here with, and the main families broke up, and then you get a whole bunch of sub families, step this and step this, and now you got step sisters and brothers and stepsisters and brothers over here, and then they might divide again, and then you got, and it goes on and on. But that original family, because it was divided, couldn't stand. It can't make it. Churches do the same thing. And this is where the devil really got good at it. And this is what bothers me the most about church. Now, the two main types of churches I've been to is Pentecostal churches and Southern Baptist churches. And they're both awesome. They're both wonderful. And they're both lacking. You say, well, how can it be so awesome and lacking? This is why. There's the irrefutable law that says like attracts like. And you probably heard it, birds of a feather flock together. Well, if you go to a church, it doesn't matter what kind, you're going to notice all the people is kind of like-minded with how they believe and how they think. And that's good in most ways. It really is. But the differences in the denominations and churches is what separates us from our brothers and sisters and causes the church to be divided. Like in the Southern Baptist Church, I notice the people are much more forgiving and much more kind to people that's got more sin than them. How's that sound? They could be newer to going to church and still have a lot of issues. They might still cuss like a sailor, every once in a while fall off the wagon, and they might have some sin problems. They might be sleeping together and they're not yet married, and they don't like that. It's still sin. But they're much more forgiving and open and patient, waiting for that person to get closer to God and get that corrected. Also at the Baptist church, they do a very good job of going through the Bible and studying it. They do. And I know if you're on the other side, you're just like, no, we got the Bible down better. I've been in both camps. Some of the interpretations that different camps do divide you on how you believe. And I'm not going to go into which verses that is. It doesn't matter. But when I'm in the Pentecostal type churches, that's when I notice people believe in miracles more. Today. Not in the past, but today. They seek those. You see more miracles right there in front of your eyes. People being healed. People being miraculously healed. You see, I've seen trucks heal. I've seen money appear. I've seen, and they got gifts of the Spirit. And I've got some gifts of the Spirit. I don't run around and cause a scene. I don't. But I've seen a lot of things. The Baptists need those miracles. The Pentecostals need that good Bible study. The Pentecostals need to be that more forgiving. Those are two traits they have. Without knowing the Catholics a whole lot, I know there's some things I don't agree with, but there's some things I don't agree with in every denomination. But did you ever think maybe they're a different body part? Because a kingdom divided cannot stand. And if we're the body of Christ, it makes only sense that we be different body parts. And if we were all together, just think how mighty we'd be. But when I'm around the Catholic people, this is what I've noticed. They're the most charitable church type denomination in the world. They are. And a lot of times in the other churches, we can't figure out a way to do for those people because we just don't have the funds to do that. And I know right now you're thinking, well, we are a small church and we just don't have those funds. But you have some funds. You do. Because the reason we collect tithes in a church is not the way we're using the tithes in a church. It says in Micah, it says, bring your tithe into the storehouse of God. And then when we're preaching this so that we can collect the tithes, we jump right to the end of that verse. It says, and the windows of heaven to be opened up, and God will pour out a blessing on you that no man can contain. And then it gets us all excited, and we pull out our money and throw it in the plate. But right there in the middle, just a little bitty piece, it explains what a storehouse of God is. It says, so there be meat in mine house. Those tithes was never, in my opinion, never set up so we could have the best of media, the best of music equipment, the best of sound systems, the best of pastors being paid higher than anybody else in the church. And don't get me wrong, I know a worker is worthy of his wage. I'm not saying don't pay your pastors, but that's their church too. I mean, if they're called to preach, maybe they should do something to make some money besides just depend on a pot, because there should be meat in mine house, a storehouse of God, so people can come to the storehouse and get the provisions they need to get by. See, we handed that all over to the government, and the government took over welfare people. The government took over giving them food. The government took care of giving them housing. That was our job. It was. It was supposed to come from the storehouse of God. And with that, we turned away the people that was going to come to the storehouse of God, that we could tell them about the love of Jesus, because they was there to get the stuff from the storehouse, and they got to hear about the love of Jesus. Then we turned it over to the government, and the government doesn't tell them about the love of Jesus. The government said, no, there's separation of church and state. They're not going to hear about Jesus here. But now they're giving them the provisions. And I think they do it so they can get their votes, so they can be in power, so they can make decisions on what comes in this country and what not comes in this country, and different environmental things, so we can jack prices on companies here, so it's harder for them to compete, so they can make money on different things because they know what's going to go up and down in value, and they can, kind of like insider trading, but it's the government. There's a time coming, folks, when being an inside dog is not going to help you. You're going to need to be more of an outside dog, and we're going to need to be more proficient in the future, because the way this world is going, we can't survive in it. We're going to have to know some basic skills of gardening. I don't have no skills, but I got to learn them. I'm going to learn them. We got to know how to grow food. We got to know how to fish. We need to learn how to hunt. We need to learn how to preserve food. We need to learn how to do this stuff without the preservatives that's making us sick in the first place, so it can sit on a store shelf for 6 months. We need to learn how to survive. You know, and I don't know, you're thinking, what is this? Is this a teaching on religion, or is this a teaching on anti-government, or is this a teaching on homesteading? It's just me sharing my heart with you. And if you need if you need prayer, man, I'm glad to pray for you. I really am. You know, if you see this video posted on Facebook or something, just message me. People don't need to know. Matter of fact, I would rather them not know, because I see enough people out there dancing around. Look what we did for Jesus. Look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm serving Jesus. They make me sick. Bible says they already got the reward when they do that. And there's a lot of that going on. Anyway, we are all in this together, and I am pulling for you. God bless you.